Welcome to another edition of The Script, the podcast on the Ohio State Buckeyes. His real name is Cardale Jones. His nickname is Beanie Wells. I'm Dave Holmes. Make sure you hit us up at The Script OSU. Subscribe on YouTube. I don't get it, guys. There's like 7 or 8 billion people in the world. They're not all subscribing. I come on here every week and say subscribe.
They're not listening.
They're not listening. This week they will.
Show some love, people.
Yeah, this week they will. All right, guys, so much to talk about today. Let's start right with the big news and the combine. Sonny Styles is the darling of the combine. He ran a 4.4640, a 43.5-inch vertical. You know the only guy faster than Sonny Styles? Cardale Jones when he's about to take this victory lap.
You know what, guys? I mean, some of us called this, a few weeks before the combine as we talked about all the movement of the Buckeyes and potentially having 5 first-rounders and all this other stuff. And the movement to me would come at the combine for 1 or 2 players, and the number 1 player who I thought would have the most movement in this draft is a guy that seems like the rest of the college football and NFL football world has continued to talk about after his performance, which is Sonny Styles. And I think with his experience at the safety position, playing so many different positions in high school, being one of the top athletes in all of high school coming out, been an unbelievable basketball player in high school coming out, and then the way they use him in Ohio State, the way that he just plays, you can't forget about the genetics, right? And the way that he was just ultimately raised as a football player. I cannot wait until he got on the spotlight as the NFL Combine and show everything that he can do outside of pretty much the limited things that we asked him to do at Ohio State.
Well, we are referencing 1 month ago, I asked these guys point blank, which Buckeye will improve their draft stock the most in the Combine? Cardale didn't hesitate. He said it's Sonny Styles. Once he tests, once he measures, the scouts are going to fall in love. That is probably the best take in the history of the script. So, Beanie, 43.5-inch vertical.
Crazy.
Record for a linebacker. This guy, like Cardale said, the basketball's in him. Remember, he was a safety at one point. So it's like he's got safety speed, linebacker, borderline D-end length.
Right.
I mean, he's a freak of nature.
I mean, you knew once he got to the combine what he would do. I mean, obviously.
Did you know?
Cardale knew.
Cardale knew and told us all. But nonetheless, when you look at him, and you knew he was a high school basketball player who was dominant in the state of Ohio, was a guy that we all talked about, moved from safety. We knew he was going to be athletic. But to be that big and to be that fast and that explosive, that's the crazy thing. Mm-hmm. And, quite frankly, it makes you really sit back and wonder if Ohio State, as good as he was here, Mr. Consistent, if we tapped into his true potential. Because I can guarantee you, when you have a guy who's 6'5", 240, 250 pounds, what's going to happen at the next level? Yes, he's going to be able to play in space. Yes, he's going to be able to cover tight ends, cover running backs, but they're going to want to see, can this guy be a pass rusher at that speed, at that size?
I wouldn't, doubt it that it would be some situations in packages, no matter what team he goes to, that they allow him to get after the quarterback a little bit, coming off the edge, because he's big and strong enough also to set the edge as well. But a guy like that, I love to see him play in space. You let to see him play in space because you saw Kean Sadiq runs a 4.4, 4.3 40. Tight end from Oregon is number 1 tight end in his upcoming draft. And you got guys like Max Clare, who's going to be another great tight end in the NFL. And already the great guys in the NFL, you look at a guy like Kyle Pitts a few years ago, ran a low 4.4. So I'm enamored if I'm a team that's in these conferences with these great tight ends. Now I got a true guy that can guard them, who can play not just first, second, and third down. I mean, not just first, second down, third down, staying in those pass situations, not coming up with a crazy scheme and package to account for a tight end who can kill you in space. Sonny Styles is that.
The guy I feel bad for is Arvell Reese, because he ran a 4.46 of his own, and people aren't even talking about Arvell. So what do you guys make of his speed?
I was shocked to see him run a 4.46. His first 40, I think, was a low 4.5, and I think I kind of put him at. And when he dropped into the 4.4s, I think it just checked off a few more things on those boxes that the NFL teams may be asking about him. And now that he came out and said, I'm an edge rusher and a linebacker. Now that's just that more. But just say you're an edge rusher because they get paid more.
Yeah. So let's talk about this for a second. Carnell Tate runs a 4.54. People kind of lose their minds because that's slower than what they expected. All right, so if we're going to praise the speed, are we going to knock Carnell for it? Or do you say, Beanie, when you put on the film, it doesn't matter? Because we see Jerry Rice, we see a lot of guys who are great receivers who don't necessarily. And on the flip side, we see Xavier Worthy, we see Darius Hayward-Bay, we see some of these guys who are just running 4.25, 4.3, and they just suck when it comes to playing wide receiver.
But like, seriously, when was a 4.5 a slow 40 last time we checked? I mean, how many people out there in the world can run a 4.5?
It's not a flow 40. It's just when you see linebackers running a 4.4 and
Yes.
tight ends running a 4.4.
It freaks you
and
out.
now they're like, hold on, wait a minute. You know, the receivers, that's the thing.
So how I counter that is I go and I look at, what receivers do I compare Cardale Tate to?
Mm-hmm.
Chad Johnson. If I could go and get Chad Johnson, who ran a 4.5, 40, if I can go get Chad Johnson in the top 10 of the draft, I can tell you about 30 teams are going to say, I'm going to be fighting to get another Chad Johnson.
Mm-hmm.
Larry Fitzgerald's another guy who ran a 4.6 40. Anquan Bolden ran a 4.7 40. So the guys are out there that aren't super blazers that are all-time greats in the National Football League. And I think Carnell fits right in line with those guys. And I'm not necessarily looking at his 40 speed. I'm looking at how he creates separation. And when you watch him on the football field, he does it with the best of them. His route running is so precise, and he gets in and out of his breaks. I don't know that I'm going away from what I've seen, the track record of Ohio State wide receivers at the next level the last 5 years. I'm taking him in the top 10.
Yeah. I'm just telling them, turn on the tape. I mean, the 40 time for him is not that big of a deal because he plays a lot faster than his 40 time will show. And then a lot of guys are vice versa. A lot of guys play a lot slower than their 40 times have shown. So I think the biggest head scratcher is this because you name three receivers, Chad Johnson, Anquan Bolden, and then Larry Fitz. But those are all bigger guys. Those are probably, got 2 to 3 solid, maybe even 4 inches and maybe probably 35 pounds of muscle over Cardale Tate. So I wouldn't say expecting a slower time, but you're not as big of a deal if they ran a slower 40 because they're making up for other spaces. Now, Carnell isn't that big, but he plays so much faster than his 40 time. It can ever really show how good of a player he is. Like what Beanie said, he creates separation with some of the best of them. And then he's a great guy that, that goes up and gets some of these 50-50 balls. Is probably 60-40 in his way. And you turn on the tape, he's playing against top corners all through his college career here at Ohio State. And he's creating a lot of separation from these guys.
Brandon Bean said it best. Yeah. You know what? If he's it looks pretty slow, let's not draft him early. Let's draft him late. I know you see that.
So funny.
Hilarious because he's like, let this guy fall.
Yeah, Bill's GM was live on the broadcast. He goes, he's slow. I wouldn't draft him. Just trying to get him. And it's so funny because I told you guys this story. Maybe I didn't out the team. I'll out them now. But I rode the elevator with a Buffalo Bills scout at the shoe a few months back. And I said, when are you going to get Josh Allen some help? He was decked out in all Bills gear. And he said, we're trying. I said, what about Carnell Tate? He goes, you think Carnell's going to be there when we're drafting? I said, probably not. Right. The Bills would fall over themselves to run up to that podium. All right, let me ask you this then. What drills matter? Because we watch these guys run around cones. We watch these guys run straight. We watch them bench press 225 pounds. If you guys are actually drafting, and you've been through the process, what drills actually matter, or does it vary some position by position?
I think it varies position by position. One of the things, obviously, you want to look at 40s. That's what everybody's enamored with. And it's one of those things that we've seen help guys in terms of where they were drafted. But I don't think necessarily 40s matter. From a 10 to 20, those splits matter because that's what football is. There's not a bunch of plays to where guys are breaking 40, 50 yards downfield to where you're actually going to have to see that straight line field speed consistently. But bench press is one of them that I could do without. I want to see how guys move, how they look in drills, how athletic are they? Can they jump? Obviously, that explosion shows you something on the football field as well. But a lot of the stuff really doesn't matter. I don't know, quite frankly, what a short shuttle drill is going to do for me as a running back. I didn't do it. I didn't do a short shuttle. I didn't do an L-cone drill. I mean, for the most part, the guys that are the later part of the draftees, essentially, that's where you want to break down. But for the most part, I'm going with film. I'm looking at film and how these guys move on a football field because truthfully, that's what matters.
No, exactly. Because, it's rarely you're going to find yourself in a situation where you're running, 10 yards straight line speed, let alone, 40 yards without, having to maneuver through a guy, maybe happen to slow down, change the pace and things like that. I like the more change of direction drills and not too many like a L cone drill and things like that, because that's what football is. You can be dropping here and then breaking here and then, shedding a guy. I like more drills like that. It was some drills out there that they were doing like a flexibility drill. The guy was jumping over their head and all this other stuff. And I remember a few years ago when at Pro Day, one of the scouts had Paris Johnson Jr. like backpedaling, jump, turning in the air, kick sliding and all this other stuff. And we're like, what is this doing? other than let me just see how a guy can respond and react on the fly when I throw something at him.
Yeah.
But
if Paris Johnson's backpedaling, it's a sack.
It's pretty bad.
The play is over.
If he got a backpedal, it's pretty bad. But you look at some of these situations where a lot of these drills, and the combine is such for the annex and media and TV this day and age, it is going away from really what, we going out there and see these guys do, because at the end of the day, you really want to test somebody 40. Well, put their ass in pass and let them run it, because they're never going to run that in t-shirt and panties.
Yeah, it's great too. And you say the change direction drills, you talk about running backs. Like the advanced metrics say all the best running backs succeed at missed tackle rate, success rate. Like those are the things you're actually seeing, how shifty they are, right? That's different than, like you said.
Some of the measurables are more I wouldn't say important than the actual drills, like, the hand sizes and then the arm size. I think we talked about it earlier during a pre-show where we were talking about a guy like Ruben Bain, who's getting knocked on his arm size because he's a pass rusher, and no successful pass rusher would, under a certain arm length is, worth the top 10 pick and all this other stuff. So you got other metrics that's very comparable. And not saying Ruben Bain is not going to be successful in the NFL, but if I'm a 6'7", 6'6" tackle with long arms and I can get my hands on you first as a pass rusher in space, then I'm at an advantage, and I'm putting you at a huge disadvantage if I can get to you first. So those type of things are more important than, how fast you can get around an L cone drill.
Yeah, well, imagine if you're Sonny Styles and you go home to the dinner table and you're the slowest guy at the table. Because Lorenzo Styles ran a 4.27. That is the fastest Buckeye in history at the combine. Guys, are you shocked that Lorenzo Styles is the fastest guy in the history of this school? He's combine speaking.
Yes, I mean, we got him, and obviously he transferred from Notre Dame, and we moved him over to the defensive side of the ball.
Yeah, he was a receiver originally.
When a guy is that fast, typically he's like, let's try to figure out a way to get him to get the ball in his hands and utilize the speed. Obviously, we've seen it with him having the pump or kickoff return this past season. But man, I was shocked. I was not expecting him to be that fast. I knew the Styles family, had that athletic ability and that would go out and do great things.
Great genetics,
dude.
Goodness,
4.2.
Man,
I wasn't thinking that at all.
Me either. He was rolling, and I think he's a guy that we haven't seen play at a extremely fast speed in the game, because he probably wasn't asked or put in those type of situations. But man, that he was rolling. And it's just a thing of some of the guys who ran at the combine, a lot of guys who didn't run at the combine, but the guys who ran at the combine, and he's the fastest from our university. That says a lot.
And I think with him also with the NFL draft, he's going to be an intriguing prospect. And reason being is, one, he played wide receiver. Two, he's only been playing defensive back for a couple of years at the college football level. So a lot of people is going to look at him like, oh, this guy's a raw talent. He's got great size, great speed. He's still finding his way at this position at the next level. So we can probably groom him to be who we want him to be, because he is a smart kid and he still has all the intangibles that we want.
Yeah, and this is no knock on him. And I personally think where his longevity would be at the next level is on special teams, because he was a guy for Ohio State, was on every special teams, is very productive. The Beanie already mentioned that his, having an opportunity to return and kick off to the house. He's a guy I think can flourish for a very long time on special teams as he continues to grow into a defensive back.
And this combine performance definitely got him drafted.
So that's the thing, right? And special teams guys still get NFL pensions. Like that's why Carnell said that's not a knock on him. That's no knock. Right. And the thing is, what you said, he's a guy you can kind of groom and work with because he's still raw, essentially. He's also going to be cheap on a price tag, like as far as draft stock. Like here's a guy
cheaper than his brother.
Yeah, exactly. So he's the guy you bring in. Now, one name that might be sliding is Caleb Downs, and it's not by his own fault. All right. So there are these reports out there that the Buckeyes star safety has a partially torn meniscus and also a degenerative ACL. Now, there are no doctors on set here, so everything we're about to say in the next 2 or 3 minutes is speculative. But guys, what do you make of Caleb Downs' injury news and the chance he might tumble? I mean, he's not going to tumble out of the first round or anything, but maybe this means he drops to 7, 10, 12. Who knows?
You know what? The only reason this came out is because teams want him to drop. There's no way this news is supposed to be dropping to the public like this. I mean, they go to Indianapolis for a reason and go and spend time getting evaluated by these doctors. This is supposed to be a private thing. And what about the HIPAA laws? I'm figuring out where this stuff comes out about, to where if that is indeed true, I mean, how's it getting out and why? And the only reason why I can justifiably think that it gets out is because a team that really is in love with Caleb Downs is not in that top 10 position. They want him to slide, and what better way to get him to slide than to put some negative news out there about his injury history and his health. But nonetheless, when you look at it, I mean, yes, we see guys with partially torn meniscus all the time, not the biggest deal in the world. But when you talk about something that's degenerative, that typically means it's going to get worse before it gets better. And when you talk about an ACL, we've seen guys have ACL injuries and not come back the same. So this is a little bit concerning.
Yeah, I would say so. I think it's a little concerning, but it's not as concerning for a guy that you know is going to provide day one for your team. Something that you probably got to worry about on the back end of things. He still is a top, even with this news, a top, like 7 to 12 prospect. If you're looking at teams that really need a safety right now, I mean, the Jets can get crazy and pick him at number 2. But I wouldn't say as much concerning. I know we talk about the measurables as well. I know, his height and weight and size of everything was coming out, and, they trying to stir up the conversations. But I do think what Beanie said, all of those headline stories are usually pushed by other programs, other organizations that really want him. Because, if I can discourage you from wanting him, maybe I have an opportunity to get him in a position that I'm not in yet. So I'm not too concerned about it, but it is something that a team is clearly going to, keep on their front foot.
And I would also argue that Caleb Downs, arguably his best traits are mental. I mean, as far as intelligence, leadership, understanding of the game too. I mean, that's stuff.
Because I don't think he was going to be a guy who's going to run a 4.2
right,
and bench 1,000,000 reps and all that other stuff. But he's another guy that plays a lot faster than anything that he can show. I don't know how he is going through all those type of drills, but I wouldn't personally give because I've seen him play.
His first 10 yards on the closing speed is unbelievable.
It's unbelievable.
Unbelievable how quick he gets downhill.
Yeah, ball skills, playmaker ability, playing in space, tackling this, just turn on tape.
Yeah, Cardale, you made a great point talking about his value right now and that degenerative knee situation being something that is going to maybe affect him later on in the career. If I'm a team, I look at what can I get right now.
Yeah,
he's still worthy of a top 10 draft pick because of that reason. It's not going to be something that we have to worry about for another 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 years, if at all.
Yeah, exactly. If you get a 6 to 8 year career out of a guy and he's a top 3 safety, you've done really well. Yeah. You've done really well for yourself. One other guy we didn't get to, Davison Igbenogson, made some comments. So they asked him who the best receiver is he ever went against. He said, Jeremiah Smith. Not shocking, although that doesn't mean he takes him over like Marvin Harrison and Emeka Egbuka. IGB's a guy who was real handsy a couple of years ago to the point they put oven mitts on him in practice to try. But he seemed to come a long way last year. Do you guys think IGB's got a spot in this league?
Oh, 100%. He's a big, rangy defensive back, and we know the league drools over guys like that. And he can run. He still ran in the 4.4s. I mean, when you got a big defensive back, I mean, you can utilize those guys in so many different positions on the defensive side of the ball. And heck, this is a passing league. The more, the better. I mean, right now, teams are trying to go out and get, have 12 defensive backs on their roster?
Damn near.
Yeah, I mean, so absolutely he has a spot in this league.
Does he struggle with confidence?
No, he do not. That's my dog. No. Excuse my French. One thing I love about IGB, and I say, yes, he has a long career in this league. He reminds me of another guy, Eli Apple. And I'm going to tell you why. Eli, I think, was was a better player. I mean, he's a top 10 pick.
Yeah.
But I'm talking about short-term memory, baby. He don't care. He get IGB, Eli Apple, they get scored on.
Yeah.
They get whatever. It don't matter because it's the next play for them. And they go play that next play like the previous one did not matter. And you don't see that with a lot of DBs. A lot of DBs usually get in their head when it rains and pours with these guys. He can give up a touchdown and the next play he's going to make a one-hand interception or use some crazy stuff like that. Or tackle guy in space. That's another big thing I like about IGB. He comes up and tackle guys. So I think he has a great opportunity to have a longevity at the next level.
Yeah, coming up next here on The Script, the podcast on the Ohio State Buckeyes, there is a huge meeting this week at the White House to try to fix college sports. What are they talking about and will it work? We're going to break that down coming up. Welcome back to The Script, the podcast on the Ohio State Buckeyes. Make sure you subscribe on Apple, Spotify, YouTube, wherever you get your podcast. What are you doing right now? Click that subscribe on YouTube. Video by far the most fun. All right, guys, time now for our Buckeye Basement Solution. Every week, we diagnose a problem in the world of sports and how to fix it. Lucky for us,
yeah, we don't have
to diagnose anything because the White House has us covered. All right, here's what's going on. We rarely talk politics, as in never on the show. It intersects here. So this week, on March 6th, President Donald Trump is having a big meeting at the White House to, quote, fix college sports. Now, the guest list is a who's who of why are they here again? It's a bit random. Urban Meyer, I get it. Nick Saban, I get it. Adam Silver runs the NBA. Condoleezza Rice, okay, she's had involvement in sports, right? Yeah. Exactly, had involvement. Tiger Woods, because I don't know, he's a good golfer. It'd be cool to get his take on.
Yeah, his son's about to be in college.
His son's about to get NIL. Yeah, Charlie. So, okay, so what do we think of this? Is this theater? Can we actually fix things? What are the things they should be talking about? What do you make of the White House fixing college sports?
First and foremost, why the hell are we having a meeting about college football when we're in the middle of a crazy situation right now, not just in the United States, but the entire world?
Mm-hmm.
And you guys know what I'm talking about. But nonetheless, can this be fixed? Can this conversation that's about to take place solve the issues of what's going on?
What do you think's on the syllabus? If you had to guess, what are the things? Is it NIL? Is it transfer portal?
I think NIL, tampering, and maybe getting rid of conferences would be on the with Urban Meyer and Nick Saban. What those conversations will be there. Well, I don't know, because now the SEC this upcoming year is playing their ninth conference game this year, so that argument will go away. So, and then maybe expanded playoff system. I would think those are kind of the top topics in college sports, period, when you're talking about everything that consists around NIL, and we're going to get to some other things on the state level. So, but tampering would probably be number one for me.
Yeah, I think that Nick Saban and Urban Meyer, we both know they have the presidency here, and I think they are good voices. I think both of them are good voices when it comes to knowing what college sports was and is. I think we all probably would say Nick Saban most likely got out because he kind of saw where the game was headed. So I'm sure he's got some feelings. Beanie, if you were in that meeting, what's one thing you would want to say? What's your one thing you'd say? Hey, Mr. President, can we do something about this?
Oh, man, it's tough. It'd be a bunch of questions, obviously, that I have. But I think probably the most important one would have to be, how do we fix the schedule to where we don't see what happened last year in terms of what transpired with the coaching situation with Lane Kiffin? Yeah. Obviously, he leaves, is forced to kind of leave a situation a little bit too early to jump on recruiting and the transfer portal window. How do we fix these things? The college football schedule in its entirety needs to be fixed. That is the major issue. I think if that college football schedule, in terms of when things start, whether it's the season, the playoffs, the portal windows, I think if those things get fixed, we're looking at a completely better product all across the board. I think that'd be the biggest question mark.
I like that.
Yeah, for sure. No, I think I'm going to have to piggyback on that. I think the timing is horrible. I think Dan Lenny came out, throughout that process of the playoffs where, he voiced some of his frustrations of, his coach was getting poached. I think his offensive coordinator or offensive line coach is the now head coach of Kentucky. I can't remember. But so he has to do a job. And then you saw with Ryan Day, taking over play calling duties from, Heartline, as he was slowly 1 foot in, 1 foot out, supposedly, and transitioning to South Florida. And all of those things are because of the scheduling. So, yeah, I think that's another huge curveball in college sports. And then it just sucks. I continue to say it, one of the biggest, slaps in the face of, Lane Kiffin happened to leave or leaving during the time where this team was in the college football playoffs and really was making a run and won the game away from a national title. So, that ruined those guys' opportunities. So then like I said, the tampering and poaching some of those guys to come with you to LSU. So, yeah, it's going to be an interesting conversation. I'm anxious to see what comes out of it. If you guys remember going back to the COVID years, right? President Donald Trump, and with some support from some local guys here, like Brian Schottenstein got up on the phone with this guys a number of times to get college football season, especially for the Big Ten, to be played. Because remember, the Big Ten, Ohio State, they said, we're not going to play. So that ruling, that power, and that push came from the White House. So they definitely had some juice and some influence to get some things changed and move in the right direction.
Well, if your damp or wet basement needs a quality solution by a local company, make sure you give our guys a call at Buckeye Basement Solutions. Brian Mastroianni, the owner there, great dude, supports the show. Give them a call, 614-956-4592, or get on BuckeyeBasementSolutions.com. I'm going to shuffle the rundown here because Cardale just mentioned Lane Kiffin. News this week, guys, that down in Mississippi, oh, man. Down in Mississippi, the House is now looking at this bill. Looks like they're passing a bill that the NIL dollars these players make will be tax exempt. Now, that's only at the state level. They can't get rid of the federal. But that means if you make $1,000 in Mississippi. On NIL, Mississippi's keeping $0. Lane Kiffin has to be looking over his shoulder like that jealous girlfriend meme. Like, wait, what now? What?
Right, what y'all doing?
I left and now you do this?
Exactly.
I mean, this is insane to me. So we're talking, preachers and NIL kids.
You got teachers. You got first responders.
Yep, you pay taxes.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, it's a little bit crazy, but nonetheless.
If you're a firefighter, you're still paying your taxes, man.
Right.
Yeah,
it's a crazy situation.
NIL bag, you walk out with all of it.
Yeah, no, you're right. It's a crazy situation. And I think it plays more into my thought of tampering because if you now having state elected officials being out to influence NIL and to influence athletes to come to your university.
Oh, Mississippi. They got Trinidad Chambliss come back too.
Oh yeah, they
That's right.
Oh yeah, I can get on the phone with a Ole Miss judge, but it's kind of crazy. But we saw that in Louisiana too when the governor came out and said, I'm going to be, spearheading the new
getting involved.
Yeah, so those are major issues in the NIL world, and I see why the world leaders are getting together this week to talk about the state of college football because it's a lot of moving parts and there's a lot of people. Hands. It's like, you got the puppet master when it's just one hand up that puppet and it's a lot of hands up this college football freaking puppet and making it move, man. So it's crazy.
But I think it speaks to how, powerful the world of college athletics is and how much of a driving force it is. And not even just from a dollars and cents standpoint, but this is a religion to so many different people around the world. And quite frankly, when we talk about the people that we just mentioned that are going to be at this roundtable, these people are huge fans of this game, or else they wouldn't want to be part of it. They wouldn't want to be impacting it in a major way. So this just speaks to the power right now in which the college football athletics has. And it's crazy as hell that we're having roundtable meetings at the White House about it.
All right, let's move on to the world of college basketball here. Huge win for the Buckeyes. Jake Diebler gets the win that he needed. The Buckeyes beat Purdue over the weekend 82-74. That's a top 10 win. Big game. And Beanie, did you see on social? Our guy over here, Cardale, he's got feet on the hardwood. Courtside Cardale. Who do I got to know to get those seats, man?
And listen, man, it's good to know a few people. Right. It's good to know a few people, and some of those people may have their name on that building. You know what I'm saying? Exactly. No, I think outside of that, man, it was great to always go out there and support the Buckeyes and Jake Diebler because one thing I can say about the Buckeyes basketball program over the last couple of years, and Jake Diebler still being a young head coach, and you can see the growth each and every week from him. And I'm talking about it's on full display. I mean, something as small as wearing sweats to the game or comfortable. Now he's wearing a suit to every game. Something as his attention to detail. And one thing you say about this team, we lost a lot of close games the last couple of years. Now, if I said this a few times, if the games were 38 minutes or 36 minutes, we'd probably be undefeated from last year to now. But he's growing and the team freaking plays their ass off for him. So that a testament to how hard he is on them and the relationship he had with those guys. I'm excited to see if this team can get into the playoffs and make a run. I mean, to the tournament and make a run.
I certainly hope so. I mean, because I love Diebler. I mean, I think obviously we know his brother, but I know him as a coach, and he's just a great dude to play for. I would want my kids to go play for a coach like that.
You can tell.
Because they actually like him. It's one thing to be coached hard, right? But it's one thing to be coached hard and for you to have that respect for your coach and what he's trying to get you to accomplish. And I think he does it with the best of them. And I hope and pray that he has all the success here at Ohio State. And he gets the time to be able to develop the program the right way because he's going to be a great coach for us. And hell, I just hope and pray this season we're making a tournament and we're making a run in the tournament.
Yeah.
It's about due.
So right now, they're definitely in if it ended today. Now, sadly for the Buckeyes, it doesn't end today. You're probably getting this podcast on Wednesday morning when it drops. We record on Tuesday. The Buckeyes still have 2 games left in the regular season. At Penn State, the Nittany Lions are dead last in the Big Ten. You have to win that one. Then you finish up at home against Indiana. By the way, Bruce Thornton, guys, good team. Bruce Thornton, 29 points away. So it looks like, unless he doesn't, even if he scores 28 against Penn State, pull him out.
Pull him out. Let him
do it in his final game at the Schottenstein Center. That would be awesome to see Bruce do it. And by the way, I know a lot of fans out there have wanted Jake Diebler's head on a platter. All right, I know that because you're in my mentions 24/7, and I understand the frustration of what Cardale said. They lose a lot of these close games. That needs addressed and it needs fixed. One thing about Jake Diebler in this world of NIL and transfer portal, he got Bruce Thornton to stay here all 4 years and they haven't made the tournament. That tells you that Bruce Thornton and these guys do like playing for Jake Diebler. That's a big part of basketball, guys.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, like I said, you got to see this guy at practice, guys. I mean, he's out there running around with these guys. He's out there coaching. He's coaching his butt off. But I mean, I think just some of the issues or the coming up short just came from a lack of experience, in my opinion. It's not, I think over the last few weeks we've seen him go with a tighter rotation on that depth, about maybe 6 to 7 guys in a true rotation of getting guys some touches and getting into a rhythm. But all of that stuff comes with just learning how to be a head coach, learning your players, and continue to gather that experience. Ohio State can be a team that gets hot at the right time, but nobody want to face.
Yeah, I do want to get your guys' thoughts on one other thing. Diego Pavia, I know you guys were both a big fan of the Vanderbilt quarterback during the season. Maybe you guys wavered a little bit after his Heisman Trophy meltdown, but he's now getting mentored by Johnny Manziel. All right, so the headline makes us laugh, right? But maybe there's some reverse mentoring here that could be valuable. At first, when I hear, hey, mentored by Johnny Manziel, I'm like, no. But maybe this is like reverse mentoring, right, Cardale? Hopefully this is like, don't do what I did type mentoring.
I guarantee you this.
Okay.
You look at a guy like Johnny Manziel and his post-career life, man, I think it's been a complete 180. I mean, we all deal with our struggles on and off the field and in our personal lives, but when you see the things that we think that got him kicked out the lead, those behaviors aren't on display anymore from what I see from Johnny from afar. I don't know him personally. He also has a great podcast and he talks about these different things. He talks about it in-depthly, a little bit about his Netflix special. So I would imagine it's a situation where he's trying to continue to encourage and help him to manage to deal with all the stardom, because Johnny became Johnny Football overnight as well, and all the things were thrown on his plate, and he was just dealing with them like honestly, like a normal, average 18, 19, 20-year-old kid, not understanding who he really was. He was the biggest thing in sports, arguably outside of LeBron James, during his hype and his Heisman campaign. And Diego Pavia has transcended college football from the new rules of getting implemented with the eligibility and how he put Vandy on a map, and he was, this close from winning the Heisman. So a lot of similarities there in play style and in personalities.
Yeah.
And I think this is a situation where Johnny probably was like, man, I see you potentially going down a route that I went down. Let me help you. Let me home you in. Let me show you how to navigate these things.
Yeah, 20 years ago, Beanie, had I said Maurice Clarett was going to mentor you at running back, everyone would have gone, whoa.
Right.
Yeah.
Now Maurice Clarett's in that locker room and a valuable voice.
100%. I mean, and hopefully, I know it's been a little bit shorter of a time for Johnny Manziel, but hopefully, that experience that he's had has forced him to grow up a lot more and be able to, make the right decisions. And I think obviously when you go through life and things don't ultimately go your way, that's humbling for anybody. It's enough to make you look in the mirror and reevaluate all of your decisions and the man that you want to be. And I don't think it's any different for Johnny Manziel. And obviously I think he can be a guy that can teach not only Diego Pavia, but a bunch of guys right now in this NIL era, in this spotlight era, how to navigate success being under the microscope.
Yeah. All right, coming up next here on The Script, the podcast on the Ohio State Buckeyes. This is the craziest in-arena promotion in sports history. I'm not even going to give it away. You got to stick around. You're going to want to hear this. Welcome back to The Script. Make sure you hit us up at The Script OSU on all social handles. I'm not going to ask you to subscribe again. Just saying. But if you want to, feel free. All right, guys, big news here. The Cleveland Browns have broken ground on a $2.4 billion stadium. We got 3 Northeast Ohio guys on set. So, how you like your Browns, indoors or outdoors?
I'll take him indoors. I'll take him however. Hell, I just want to win regardless. But nonetheless, I mean, the new stadium, I'm excited about. I mean, to have that, that retractable roof indoors. So you're a team that's used to playing in cold climate, but I also think that sometimes that could be an advantage and sometimes it could be a disadvantage, depending on where the guys are on that roster are from. But nonetheless, I love it, and I can't wait for the excitement to be around as they're building this thing. And look, it's going to galvanize the fans. When you talk about what $2.4 billion stadium, that has to be up there with the best of the best. Me and Cardale talk about stadiums all the time. We've talked about Mercedes-Benz Stadium. We talked about SoFi and Dallas Cowboy. Browns are there, baby.
Beanie's gone soft. Beanie's gone soft after all that. Now he's a fan. Now he wants the fan experience.
I don't know if I like the indoor stadium, man.
For the Browns?
Because I think this part of the country where you play football and you think of the division, Browns, Ravens, Cincinnati and the Steelers, man, no one want to play here in late October through November through December. And there's truly a home field advantage. And you look at some of these late games, these Browns has been in late season games around the last couple of years with teams like, Buffalo or teams like, coming or other teams coming from the West
49ers
Coast.
have had some ugly
they
games
had
here.
some rough games here that's ultimately gives us a chance to win these things. But I understand the logistics of it. I understand the whole marketing around it. They want to build it up like the SoFi Stadium, where a whole community is around the stadium, and the stadium's kind of the center point of it. And then it also gives the stadium opportunity to host things all year round. So I get it on the business side of things. Now I'm interested to see how differently it shapes the attraction of players now. Because if I'm a free agent quarterback, I probably don't want to go play with the Browns because later on in the season, I know what I got to deal with, type of weather and stuff like that. So now you don't have to deal with those things because you're home field advantage and indoor. So
his opinion will change the first time he's in a suite with those cucumbers on his eyes.
We
know he's one free game away from loving this place.
I'm really surprised Cardale wasn't there with a shovel as they were breaking ground. We are in the state of Ohio, so
my guys, Bobby D, them up there, they're actually doing the I think they're doing I think it's called the excavating.
Yeah. Independence excavating.
Independence, yeah. So those guys are doing all the excavating. Great relationship with the Browns and that front office and that leadership. So yeah, I don't doubt I would be there for the home opener.
Okay, all right. Well, speaking of the Browns digging themselves a hole, Deshaun Watson, do you think he could actually be the quarterback? That the word is now he's going to get a shot next year. Shedeur Sanders is an air quotes Pro Bowl quarterback. We know how many guys had to die for him to get in the game, but do you guys actually think Deshaun gets one more crack with this team?
Yeah, I mean, when you look at the money that you paid him, you want to see something in return, whether that's him going out there and just showing you, you know what, this was the worst decision ever, or making you scratch your head and say, maybe he does have something left. Maybe we can get a glimpse of the old Deshaun Watson. And I'm of the belief, if he goes out there plays and gets the starting job, it's going to be something crazy like 3,500 to 4,000 yards, 20 touchdowns, and he's going to look like the Deshaun Watson of old, and it's going to be a decision to be made for the Cleveland Browns to whether to pay this guy again.
I'm telling y'all right now, I'm taking the over. Before we even get to that point of the show and later on in the season, before the NFL season kickoff, I'm taking the Deshaun Watson touchdown. I don't care who the Browns get in all season. I'm taking the Deshaun Watson touchdown over. And I'm taking his passing over as well because I think the Browns are going to go out there and let him throw the ball to see what we have for the future. Do we go get one of these young guys that's going to be in the draft next year, like Arch Manning and all these other guys that's coming out? Or do we stick with, Shedeur Sanders and then Dylan Gabriel still's on the roster as well? So I'm taking it over on everything they come out with Deshaun Watson. I don't care if he's a starter or not. I'm still taking it over.
All right, let's finish with this. Speaking of stadiums, how about what the Atlanta Hawks are doing? This is, I swore this was from The Onion. I thought it was an AI headline. I had to click 3 or 4 articles to make sure the story is true. The Atlanta Hawks are having Magic City night at their arena. Now, Beanie, I had to,
magic trick.
I had to look up Magic City. I had no idea. Apparently, it is a very high-profile strip club down there, Magic City. All right, so the Hawks are having Magic City night, complete with the rapper T.I. They're having lemon pepper wings. After this news broke, shortly after this, James Harden demanded a trade to the Atlanta Hawks. He's like, get me out of Cleveland. All right, so what do you guys make of Magic City night, having strip club night at the game?
Look, it's hilarious, but it's all due in part and right on par with the culture of Atlanta nightlife, Atlanta Hawks, Atlanta Falcons. Everybody who was somebody has stepped foot inside of Magic City. I mean, seriously, and, whether it's politicians, whether it's athletes, actors, everybody has been in Magic City. If you've been to Atlanta and you are somebody, and they have some of the best wings out there. So it's right on par with the course with what you think of Atlanta, and for them to be doing this in the NBA and highlighting a gentleman's establishment is the most hilarious thing in the world. But I'm not shocked.
They have wings, breasts, and thighs. Go ahead, Cardale.
I was to the people, the Atlanta Hawks fans, and whatever traveling team that is playing that night.
It is. It's the Orlando Magic because that also fits into Magic City.
Okay. Well, if it's anything how we think it's going to be, leave your kids at home. Don't tune in to the halftime show. Watch the game. Enjoy. But no, yeah, like Beanie said, I think it's on par with what Atlanta is known for as far as the nightlife and other great things that Atlanta is known for. Got a lot of great black culture there. But yeah, it's kind of crazy to see a professional team in the major sport of basketball, and the association is highlighting the Magic City night. Hopefully they're highlighting it as the halftime, maybe more of a concert, and then having a special like at the concession stands of like lemon pepper wings and some other fine dishes you may find at Magic City versus the fine company you may find at Magic City.
Look, can you imagine this 10 years ago? Like we couldn't talk about alcohol in football. We could not talk about gambling.
Yes.
And now we can do both of those things, and we can have a celebration of strippers at a strip club at an NBA game.
So
this is crazy.
If I'm the Hawks, I go all in at the concession stands. I say no credit cards. We only accept $1 bills. Like we go all in on the theme. But you're right. Think about that. 10 years ago, if you would have said, hey, on your way to buy the DraftKings kiosk, make sure you place a bet and go get your lemon pepper wings from Magic City. What is going on? Lord's coming back soon. That's what's going to happen. All right, guys, that'll do it for us on The Script. We are off next week, so we'll see you back here in 2 weeks on The Script, the podcast on the Ohio State Buckeyes.